What made me want to join Toastmasters? I had known about Toastmasters for quite a while, but it wasn't until I got the book by Brian Tracy called No Excuses. And in that book, it describes that one thing that you need to do in order that always kept you from doing bigger, other, better things. And that one thing for me had always been public speaking. I've always been a very shy person, even though I've had opportunities to speak. I'd always been a very shy person. I felt it kept me from improving my career and doing other things. But after I read that book, I had always known public speaking was that one thing that kept me from doing bigger, better things. And so I decided to join Toastmasters, and I haven't looked back ever since. My favorite memory or occasion at Toastmasters has been after I gave my first speech. It was our icebreaker speech, but I realized that when I got up to do my speech, I had my notes and the notes had fallen out. So I walked up to do my speech with no notes. Luckily, I had practiced enough and I had done it enough, written it enough that I knew it by heart. And so I could say my speech without my notes. And it's funny because right after I sat down, I noticed that my notes had slipped from out of my folder onto the floor where my seat was. So it just assured me that I could get this done with this training, with this program, with this Toastmasters, that I can improve speaking without my notes and without having that nervousness and that craziness that you get, as some of you may know. Outside of improving speaking and evaluations, what I've gotten out of Toastmasters is my listening skills. The evaluations and the speaking allow you to improve that. It's helped me communicating better with my spouse and my relationships, and knowing when to speak and when knowing not to speak. So that's one of the things that I've gotten out of Toastmasters. If I could pick one person to join Toastmasters, I guess that would be my brother. And he's always been kind of a shy, reserved person, but I've seen him speak and he does a great job. And I've seen him at weddings and things and given the best man speech at mine and others, and he does a really good job. And I think he could go a lot further and do a lot more things if he were to just pick up uh, and continue with this program. But I think he would be great at it. Why should you join Toastmasters? I think you're going to find great value in it, something you probably didn't think you'd get out of it, like friendships, encouragement, confidence is the number one thing that I'm getting out of it. So I encourage you to join. If you need confidence, it's the one thing I know that's made a world of difference for me. So welcome to Toastmasters.
So what made me want to join Toastmasters? Well, it was a complete fluke, a total coincidence. I just so happened to be having a cup of coffee with my business partner on Kingwood Drive at the Starbucks, and we're talking about it. Then all of a sudden, this very strange lady came up to us and started talking. And it turns out I knew her husband through the job shop work team. And she said to me, she says, "Well, why don't you join the Deerwood Toastmasters?" And she told me a little bit about it, told me the date, told me the time, and told me the location. And I said, I'll think about it. And the next couple of days, I did think about it. And out of curiosity, I thought, you know what, why not? So I went down to my very first meeting, and everybody was just so friendly and so encouraging that I thought, I've got to join this club. Thanks, Michelle. What is my favorite memory or occasion with Toastmasters? I'm afraid what I've got to say is that it was the very, very first time I did the Toastmaster role. Richard Quaylar, who's the VPE at the time, he volunteered me for it. And I spoke to him, and he allowed me to use National Pirate Day as the theme for that week. So I went down to the dollar store, bought a bunch of props. A very good friend of mine likes to dress up as a pirate over the weekend. So I borrowed his costume and I went down to the meeting. And I distinctly remember looking out in front of all my fellow Toastmasters, and everyone was there with little eye patches on, little hats, and they were brandishing these little toy pirate guns. and everyone was speaking like a pirate. And I thought, you know what? I think I found my place. So outside of speaking and evaluations, what have I sort of got out of Toastmasters? Well, I'm going to have to say, I think I've become a lot more mentally agile. The other day, I actually think that I won an argument with my wife, and I actually emphasized the word I think. Yeah, she's very encouraging though, and she said I've got two problems. The first problem is that I don't listen, and the second problem is I don't know, some other rubbish she was talking about. If I could pick one person to join Toastmasters, who would it be and why? I would have to say I'd have to encourage one of my old times heroes to join, and that would be Stan Laurel, even though he's passed. So just to be in a meeting room with him, listen to his speeches talking about all the films and the atmosphere down at the Hal Roach Studios and his relationship with Oliver Hardy, it would just be absolutely fantastic to hear all these tales. So why should you join Deerwood Toastmasters? Well, for me, it's a bit of a no-brainer. We're a group of people. We're from very diverse backgrounds in terms of work-wise, but we're also from different countries as well. And we're all there for maybe different reasons, but mainly just to improve our public speaking. But one of the great things that's happened during our time together is that we have such a lot of great fun, and we've all become firm friends to the point where I'm going to say that we're family. So come and join our family down at the Deerwood Toastmasters.
Third question. What have you gotten out of TMI besides the speaking and evaluations? Well, there's a tremendous amount of friendships that actually have gone around the world. I have made friends that ordinarily I would have never come across except through Toastmasters. We share one common cause, and that's to self improve on communication. Second question. What's your favorite memory or occasion in TM? That would have to be back in the 90s, early 90s. I competed in lip singing with Toastmasters, and I went to district 3 times in a row, 3 years in a row. I obtained third place, second place, and first place. It was very enjoyable. Question. Why did I join Toastmasters? I joined in 1988, and I'm still a Toastmaster. Maybe I'm a slow learner. I'm not sure. But in any case, I joined because I wanted to communicate better with the salespeople that were working for me at the time. Over the years, I have enjoyed this communication advantage on several occasions and has made me a better person. Fourth question. If I could pick one person to join TM with you, who would that be and why? Actually, every person that I come across, I feel they should join Toastmasters, especially if they're in a role of leadership where they have to communicate. I find it very irritating now to hear somebody in that role not communicate properly or not say it adequately. So, everybody that I come across should join Toastmasters. Fifth question. Why join Deerwood Toastmasters? Join Deerwood Toastmasters because it's a group of people that love to communicate and have fun at the same time. And we keep on learning. We share ourselves in every speech. And We learn. We learn to communicate, but most of all, we learn to communicate with fun. Join Deerwood Toastmasters.
What made me join Deerwood Toastmasters? Well, I've always had an interest in improving my public speaking. I was invited to Deerwood Toastmasters by Kathleen Sasson, and once I joined the group, I found just humor, fun, really neat to be around these people. So I have come away already after being a part of the group for about a year with friendships, and I hadn't actually expected that. I thought we were just going to work on our public speaking, and by working on our public speaking, we then have developed cool friendships that feel to me like family. What was my favorite Toastmaster moment? Well, I have to tell you, it actually didn't happen at Toastmasters. It happened on a very cold day, had to be 17 degrees. Mark and Bob and I got together at Bob's house just to spend some time and enjoy each other's company. And Mark was kind enough, he was so kind, to go by and get breakfast burritos, breakfast tacos. I mean, they were huge. Brings them into the house, sit down, go start eating them, and Mark dumps his breakfast burrito taco all over the floor on his carpet. Again, like in such a formal situation, you wouldn't expect such a thing to happen, but and that burrito fell like face down. Again, it feels like friendship, because that's the kind of thing that happens, when you're hanging out at your friend's house. But I was just glad it wasn't me that dumped the burrito. Sorry, Mark. That's my favorite moment in Toastmasters. Outside of improving my speaking skills, what have I gotten out of Toastmasters? Well, I have a rather unique situation where my son, who is 22, has also joined the same Toastmaster group. So I have super enjoyed watching him develop, not just improving the way that he dresses, but also how he speaks in front of a group, how he plans before he speaks in front of a group. So watching my son develop at the same time I'm already enjoying the group is just a particularly added bonus for me, a really cool bonus. If there's one person that you could pick to join Toastmasters, who would it be and why? I would definitely pick my son. He's already in the group, so I will pick another person since I've already achieved that. I'll say, I think it'd be cool to have Tom Cruise in the group, because that would then suggest that I would know Tom Cruise. He happens to be my favorite actor. So, yeah, Tom Cruise, since I've already got my boy in the group. Why should you join Deerwood Toastmasters? This is an easy one. We're fun. We're going to make you work. We're going to push you to different levels that you are either hoping to achieve, or maybe some that you haven't even thought to achieve. Like for me, I'm not very good at tech, but I'm already being challenged with using tech during my speeches. We're great friends. We're caring. We've got not only a multitude of different cultures, but of ages as well. We range in age from 20 all the way to 85. So come to Deerwood Toastmasters if you're looking for a challenge, looking to improve your public speaking, and end up walking away with a bunch of extra cool, super cool friends. That's why you should join Deerwood Toastmasters. And my dog said to. There she goes. All right. Back to you, whoever you are.
What made you want to join Toastmasters? When my friend Linda and I were having lunch at her house, I noticed behind her a bunch of awards and plaques. And I asked her about them, and she said, why don't you join Toastmasters or at least come to one of the meetings? I went to a meeting and I was very impressed with the sergeant at arms who opened the door and greeted me. So right away I felt safe, I felt welcomed, and I felt very professional. I went in the room and it was organized. It was set up, ready for a meeting. But what I noticed was this people in there were speaking with each other and laughing and smiling and really animated. So I thought, wow, this is a great place to meet fun people. When I heard the speakers, I was very impressed. They were age 20s to 60s, and they appeared really confident about themselves, especially the women. I was really impressed. The club president was a woman, and she was very polished. That was Kelly, and very well-spoken, professional, and I right away wanted to be like her. What's my favorite memory? One of the speeches I heard at a Toastmaster meeting was from a guest speaker. The first word of her speech was bugs. The whole speech was riveting, and I loved the story. It was a great story. She told it with such drama, good pauses. I was angry. I was happy. I was really amazed at this speech. A few years later, it was last year, I saw her at a party and I was trying to place her. Where did I know her from? I heard her voice before I knew her face. I suddenly remembered. I stared right at her and I said, bugs. So it was neat to see that I could find the same person who delivered this speech more like a celebrity to me at a local party that I had, and we talked about how great Toastmasters was. Outside of improving my speaking and evaluations, what have I got out of Toastmasters International? I've learned to be patient with myself and patient with other people. Patience is not one of my strengths. And I've also bonded with Cub Scout and Boy Scout leaders who are also Toastmasters. It's another thing we have in common, and we look at each other and we realize that there are two different passions in our lives that we have in common. I really noticed the strong connection, actually, between Toastmasters, the World Scouting Movement, and other global organizations such as Rotary Club and Fulbright Association, a lot of nonprofits. These people have gotten into their positions by learning how to deliver speeches effectively and listen to others. I want to help young people. That's my goal. Now that I can see young people in scouting and in other organizations, they can get themselves to be heard and stand out better if they learn how to speak with poise. If I could pick one person to join Toastmasters with me, who would that be and why? I wish my husband would join Toastmasters. Not necessarily the clubs that I'm in, but a Toastmasters club, because I want for him to be effective in delivering his profound thoughts. I want people to hear what he has to say and for him to be confident about saying them. Why should we join Deerwood Toastmasters? I have to think about this one. Well, we're a really fun group. We're relaxed. We help each other out. We're not in it for ourselves to just improve ourselves. We want to reach out to help other people who are more timid or maybe who have a little bit of a stigma about public speaking. And we're a really fun group. So when we have good times together, I notice that it's easier for us to reach out to each other to help when we are going through difficult times. That's what makes Deerwood Toastmasters special.
I am Rick Massey, and these are my answers to the Toastmaster questions. What made you want to join Toastmasters? Linda Caban, an old friend, invited me to join the group that she was a member of. I attended a meeting and enjoyed the meeting and the people. What is your favorite memory or occasion in Toastmasters? My favorite memory is when I gave my icebreaker speech from the front seat of Richard's car because we could not get into the building. I was also allowed to give the speech again the next week from the podium. Outside of improving your speaking and evaluations, what else have you gotten out of Toastmasters? It's very simple. I have a new group of friends that I enjoy spending time with on Friday mornings and at our monthly fun lunches. If you could pick one person to join TM with you, who would that be and why? I think the one person that I would pick to join Toastmasters with me would be my grandson, who is in college going for a business degree. I think learning to be a more confident and effective speaker would help him be more successful. Why should we join Deerwood Toastmasters? You should join Deerwood Toastmasters because there's a group of people that have fun learning.
Why did I join Toastmasters? Prior to COVID, I had a job change that took me out of meetings and all sorts of being around all sorts of different people into a more isolated one-on-one type work. And I wanted to keep my skills and keep my contacts open. And so I joined Toastmasters through the recommendation of this wonderful lady who had moved here from New York. What's my favorite time for Toastmasters? Well, it's Christmas, of course, when we all get silly, put on our reindeer headsets, and laugh and talk like we're a bunch of elves or deer or whatever. And then there's Santa, who always shows up some way, somehow, at our Christmas meeting. What have I gotten out of Toastmasters in addition to improving my speaking skills? It's friends. It's contacts. Contacts not for business, but for life. People from different areas coming together for the shared purpose, sharing their stories, making up new ones, and being there for each other. That's why Deerwood Brook is the best club to join. Who would I like to see at a Toastmasters meeting? Why, Abe Lincoln, of course. Can you imagine him standing there in that top hat, looking out at all the diverse people that belong to Toastmasters? And imagine his oration, always famous for it. We quote him more often than we do Alfred E. Newman. Why should you join Deerwood Toastmasters? Well, Toastmasters, and in particular our group, is a bunch of introverts who've learned how to not be introverts. So it's the best group of both worlds, extroverts and introverts, and all sorts of verts.